It was a clear Tuesday morning on September 11th, 2001, in New York City. The sky was bright blue without a single cloud in sight. The city was already awake, moving fast like it always did. People rushed through the streets with coffee in their hands. Taxis filled the avenues. Inside the World Trade Center, thousands of workers had already started their day. Elevators moved up and down constantly, carrying people to offices high above the ground. Phones rang. Conversations echoed. It was just another normal morning. At 8:46 a.m., everything changed. A commercial airplane crashed into the North Tower. The impact was immediate and devastating. Several floors were destroyed instantly. Fire erupted across the upper levels, and thick black smoke began rising into the sky. Inside the building, people were thrown into confusion. Some didn't even understand what had happened. Others thought it was some kind of accident. Emergency calls flooded the system. Within minutes, sirens could be heard across the city. Police officers, firefighters, and paramedics rushed toward the towers. As they arrived, they began organizing evacuations. People inside the lower floors started making their way down the stairwells, helping each other, trying to stay calm. But then, at 9:03 a.m., a second plane struck the South Tower. In that moment, everything became clear. This was not an accident. Panic spread instantly. Inside both towers, fear took over. Stairwells filled with people trying to escape. Smoke thickened, making it harder to breathe. Some people were trapped above the impact zones with no clear way out. Others continued descending step by step, hoping to reach safety. Outside, crowds gathered, looking up in disbelief. Some stood frozen. Others began to run. And still, first responders kept going in. Firefighters climbed higher and higher into the buildings, carrying heavy equipment. Police officers guided people out, doing everything they could to help. They knew the danger, but they didn't stop. In the middle of all this chaos, take a moment to follow the channel and like the video, because stories like this need to be remembered and told. Time felt distorted. At 9:59 a.m., the South Tower collapsed. The massive structure fell in seconds, sending a wave of dust and debris through the streets. The sound was overwhelming. People ran as fast as they could, trying to escape the cloud that swallowed everything in its path. Visibility dropped to almost zero. The air became thick with ash. Minutes later, at 10:28 a.m., the North Tower also collapsed. What once stood as two of the tallest buildings in the world was now gone. The skyline of New York City was changed forever. In the hours that followed, the scale of the tragedy became clearer. Nearly 3,000 people lost their lives that day. Among them were civilians, firefighters, and police officers who had rushed in to save others. Families waited for calls that never came. Phones kept ringing. Messages went unanswered. But even in the middle of unimaginable loss, something else appeared. Acts of courage. Strangers helping strangers. People carrying the injured. First responders risking everything, many of them never coming back. In the days that followed, the entire country stood still. Vigils were held. Flags were raised. Names were read, one by one. It was more than a tragedy. It was a moment that changed the United States and the world. And even now, years later, the memory of that morning remains. A normal day that turned into something no one could have ever imagined. A moment in time that people will never forget. Because for those who lived through it, that was the day everything changed.